Linda Stanley, the district attorney covering Chaffee Park, Fremont, and Custer counties, has now been disbarred because of misconduct.
Our coverage continues this afternoon with a look at what's next with our 9 News legal analyst, Whitney Traylor. So this is an order of disbarment that's been issued. Yes. It's not in effect just yet, right. But when does that take effect? How does this work?
Right. So it's kind of a twofold step. So the Office of Attorney Regulation is the one who prosecutes and investigates these type of claims. It's the Office of the Presiding Disciplinary Judge that actually issues the order. And that's what happened. The Office of Presiding Disciplinary Judge issued this order, but it doesn't become effective until 35 days. But within the order, they said if there's an appeal, that could be stayed. So I actually looked her up on the Colorado Supreme Court, and it doesn't say that she's disbarred. It says she's an active attorney. So that was issued on September 10th. So 35 days is into October, unless they appeal it, which could extend it.
Being disbarred is a big blow as an attorney. It's the last stop for you in many ways, but you often see it more with criminal defense attorneys as opposed to officials and district attorneys. This is a pretty unique step.
Yeah, it's a unique step, and disbarment is very serious. I mean, this is as you said, the final step. I mean, they could have, and actually it was a 2-to-1 decision. One of the regulators wanted a 2.5-year suspension, which is still very, I mean, there's a lot of steps you can get. You can get a public censure, you can get suspension for a certain amount of time. So this is significant. But they found a number of wrongdoings that led to this. So a lot of people would say it's justified.
If your conduct is such that you end up being disbarred, would you, if you were not an attorney, face criminal and civil penalties?
Well, that's a good question. If you were not an attorney... And
you did some of the things that led to a disbarment, you are probably outside the law in many ways.
You could be, for sure. But this is a unique situation because you're dealing with a prosecutor and an attorney, and it's relevant. I understand the distinction you're asking about, but the relevance here is the attorneys, because attorneys are held to very high standards in things that people wouldn't even think about. You know, you could be disbarred for drunk driving, having felonies. You have to report if you're up to date on your child support. So as an officer of the court, there is an expectation, and I think it's important, and I agree with it, because they want not only the officers of the court to conduct themselves in a certain way, but they want they don't want the look of impropriety, so they want to maintain a certain standard over the bar. Yeah.
So this is a harsh decision for her, but also she was involved in such high-profile cases. So when you look at the case of Barry Morphew and his missing wife, Suzanne, and also in Colorado Springs, there was a horrible story of a child that was abused and died. She talked a lot to reporters. Is that part of the...
Yes, that's a major part of it. And I was actually, as I read through the 85-page opinion, I was shocked at some of the things she did, because in the Morphew case, they said no extrajudicial comments. They said limit what you say to the press. She didn't do that, and she went on podcasts and other things. And in the case you mentioned in Colorado Springs, while the case is pending, she said, he agreed to babysit because he wanted to get laid. And that was what ultimately led to the dismissal of charges of both the mother and the boyfriend. And of course, in the Barry Morphew case, they dismissed the charges as well. So these were significant missteps that led to the dropping of charges. And in the Morphew case, they were also not turning over discovery in a timely manner, which led to the judge issuing a sanction in which the prosecution couldn't call a number of their experts. So they then realized they couldn't win the case without the experts. I don't think there was anything nefarious about that, but they clearly were understaffed, and they even said in the opinion she was the ship's captain who didn't appear on the boat's bridge, meaning she wasn't overseeing the case and wasn't involved in these key times.
This is likely not the final chapter of the Linda Stanley story. We'll continue to follow it. We appreciate your insight. Thanks, Whitney.